Good morning and welcome back to the book of Joshua. Before we continue, Father, as I read and receive your word, may it deeply be rooted in me, so when difficulty comes, it will be your word that encourages and strengthens me. Chapter 9. Excuse me. The Gibeonites deceive Israel. Now all the kings west of the Jordan heard about what had happened. These were the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, who lived in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far north as the Lebanon Mountains. These kings quickly combined their armies to fight against Joshua and the Israelites. But when the people of Gibeon heard what had happened to Jericho and Ai, they resorted to deception to save themselves. They sent ambassadors to Joshua, loading their donkeys with weathered saddlebags and old patched wineskins. They put on ragged clothes and worn-out patched sandals, and they took along dry, moldy bread for provisions. When they arrived at the camp of Israel at Gilgal, they told Joshua and the men of Israel, "We have come from a distant land to ask you to make a peace treaty with us." The Israelites replied to these Hittites, "How do we know you don't live nearby? For if you do, we cannot make a treaty with you." They replied, "We will be your servants." "But who are you?" Joshua demanded. "Where do you come from?" They answered, "We are from a very distant country. We have heard of the might of the Lord your God, and all he did in Egypt. We have also heard what he did to the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth. So our leaders and our people instructed us, prepare for a long journey. Go meet with the people of Israel and declare our people to be their servants and ask for peace. This bread was hot from the ovens when we left, but now as you can see it is dry and moldy. These wineskins were new when we filled them, but now they were old and cracked, and our clothing and sandals are worn out from a long, hard trip." So the Israelite leaders examined their bread, but they did not consult with the Lord. Then Joshua went ahead and signed a peace treaty with them, and the leaders of Israel ratified their agreement with a binding oath. 3 days later, the facts came out that these people of Gibeon lived nearby. The Israelites set out at once to investigate and reached their towns in 3 days. The names of these towns were Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack the towns, for their leaders had made a vow to the Lord, the God of Israel. The people of Israel grumbled against their leaders because of the treaty, but the leaders replied, "We have sworn an oath in the presence of the Lord, the God of Israel, we cannot touch them. We must let them live, for God would be angry with us if we broke our oath. Let them live, but we will make them chop the wood and carry the water for the entire community." So the Israelites kept the promise to the Gibeonites, but Joshua called together the Gibeonite leaders and said, "Why did you lie to us? Why did you say that you live in a distant land when you live right here among us? May you be cursed. From now on you will chop wood and carry water for the house of my God." They replied, "We did it because we were told that the Lord your God instructed his servant Moses to conquer this entire land and destroy all the people living in it. So we fear for our lives because of you. That is why we have done it. Now you are at your mercy. Do whatever you think is right. Now we are at your mercy. Do whatever you think is right." Joseph did not allow the people of Israel to kill them, but that day he made the Gibeonites the wood choppers and water carriers for the people of Israel and for the altar of the Lord. Whenever the Lord would choose to build it, the arrangement continues this day. Israel defeats the southern kings, chapter 10. Now, Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured and completely destroyed Ai and killed its king, just as he had destroyed the city of Jericho and killed its king. He also learned that the Gibeonites had made the peace with Israel and now are their allies. He and his people became very afraid when they heard all this, because Gibeon was a large city, as large as the royal cities and larger than Ai, and the Gibeonite men were mighty warriors. So King Adoni-Zedek of Jerusalem sent messengers to several other kings: Hoham of Hebron, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhiah of Lachish, and Debir of Eglon. Come and help me destroy Gibeon, he urged them, for they had made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel. So these 5 Amorite kings combined their armies for a united attack. They moved all their troops into place and attacked Gibeon. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at Gilgal. Don't abandon your servants now, they pleaded. Come quickly and save us, for all the Amorite kings who live in the hill country have come out against us with their armies. So Joshua and the entire Israelite army left Gilgal and set out to the rescue of Gibeon. Do not be afraid of them, the Lord said to Joshua, for I will give you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. The Lord threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered them in great numbers at Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road to Beth-Thorn and attacked them at Azekah and Makkedah, killing them along the way. As the Amorites retreated down the road from Beth-horon, the Lord destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. On the day of the Israel victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand still over Gibeon, and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun and moon stood still until the Israelites had defeated their enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jashar? The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and did not set as a normal day. The Lord fought for Israel that day. Never before since has there been a day like that one, when the Lord answers such a request from a human being. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. Joshua kills the 5 southern kings. During the battle, the 5 kings escaped and hid in the cave of Makkedah. When Joshua heard that they had been found, he issued this command: cover the opening of the cave with large rocks and place guards at the entrance to keep the kings inside. The rest of you continue chasing the enemy and cut them down from the rear. Don't let them get back to their cities, for the Lord your God has given you victory over them. So Joshua and the Israelites' army continued the slaughter and wiped out the 5 armies except for a tiny remnant that managed to reach their fortified cities. Then the Israelites returned safely to their camp at Makkedah. After that, no one dared to speak a word against Israel. Then Joshua said, "Remove the rocks covering the opening of the cave, and bring the 5 kings to me." So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. Joshua told the captains of his army, "Come and put your feet on the kings' necks." And they did as they were told. "Don't ever be afraid or discouraged," Joshua told his men. "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is going to do this to all your enemies." Then Joshua killed each of the 5 kings and hung them on 5 trees until evening. As the sun was going down, Joshua gave instructions for the bodies of the kings to be taken down from the trees and thrown into the cave where they had been hiding. Then they covered the opening of the cave with a large pile of stones, which remains to this very day. Israel destroys the southern cities. That same day, Joshua completely destroyed the city of Makkedah, killing everyone in it, including the king. Not one person in the city was left alive. He killed the king of Makkedah as he had killed the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and the Israelites went to Libnah and attacked it. There too the Lord gave them the city and its king. They slaughtered everyone in the city and left no survivors. Then Joshua killed the king of Libnah, just as he had killed the king of Jericho. From Libnah, Joshua and the Israelites went to Lachish and attacked it, and the Lord gave it to them on the 2nd day. Here too the entire population was slaughtered, just as at Libnah. During the attack of Lachish, King Horam of Gezer had arrived with his army to help defend the city. Joshua's men killed him and destroyed his entire army. Then Joshua and the Israelite army went to Eglon and attacked it. They captured it in one day. And as at Lachish, they completely destroyed everyone in the city. Excuse me. After leaving Eglon, they attacked Hebron, capturing it and all its surrounding towns. And just as they had done in Eglon, they completely destroyed the entire population. Not one person was left alive. Then they turned back and attacked Debir. They captured the city, its king, and all its surrounding villages, and they killed everyone in it, leaving no survivors. They completely destroyed Debir just as they had destroyed Libnah and Hebron. So Joshua conquered the whole region, the kings and the people of the hill country and Negev, the western foothills and the mountain slopes. He completely destroyed everyone in the land, leaving no survivors, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. Joshua slaughtered them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza and from Goshen to Gibeon. In a single campaign, Joshua conquered all these kings in their land, for the Lord, the God of Israel, was fighting for his people. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we'll be back tomorrow to continue with the book of Joshua. Thank you.